All right, it's 12:05. Hey, welcome. I'm professional coach Kieran Diorio. I help high-performing professionals accelerate their family happiness without sacrificing their business success. Welcome to Point A, and welcome to Wednesday at 12:05 Live. Today, I'll be kicking off part two of our filters conversation. You'll recall from last week when I'm talking about filters, when I'm defining them, I'm talking about what's in place as we perceive events, what's influencing our experience, what's really having that impact or that pre-impact on what we experience in our careers or our work, with our families, with our relationships, wherever. I also talked about interchangeability between the word filter and influence, or influencer, or influences, for the purposes of this discussion. So as we talk about filters, let's also just keep in mind influence and influencer, because for the purposes of what I'm sharing here today, they really do function as one and the same. I also talked about the importance of our awareness when it comes to our filters or influencers. It's the first step for us to stop living at the effect of our filters and rather to start living with a higher degree of control and more choices. So, hey, as always, your questions, your comments, your thoughts are certainly welcome. And let's just get right into it with a quick review from last week. I did talk about one of the most common influences or filters in our lives, and that's the physical influence or filter. I used an example of someone who travels frequently for work and experiences chronic low back pain. And we talked about how it really shows up in just about every part of this person's life, for example. The awareness being critical because frankly, what's going on for this person is much more than low back pain. It's actually the reduced performance at work. It's them being at 80% in a key presentation, for example, because their back is so tight. It's them treating someone they care about in a way they really don't want to, but because they're experiencing so much of their life through this filter or influence of low back pain, it really has an impact on how they relate to themselves and others. So we use that as an example of big, very common influence or filter in our lives, the physical, low back pain being one of them. And I actually broke off and have a couple more videos coming your way. One is up already, which talks about how stability and alignment in our low backs is actually super crucial, and they're very interdependent in terms of us keeping our core very strong, very stable, and frankly, more comfortable. So we don't have that physical filter of low back pain. So check that out. That's on this channel. But let's get into another kind of filter that we'll talk about here. Let's talk about a social influence or social filter. Obviously, another big part of our lives, a big part of the human experience. And this is going to deal with how we connect to society, how we relate to one another, how we relate to the organization for society. And let's drill down. There are thousands of social filters or influencers, but let's talk about degree or amount of interaction. And then let's bring it to a finer point and talk about our desired degree or amount of interaction. This will cut one of two ways. For example, you might have someone where too little interaction has them feeling unsupported. The other side of the coin, where someone has too much interaction, might have them feeling smothered. So let's break that down. We'll use an example from the work world here. You might have a distance manager, for example, and this is someone who you talk to once a month, or you talk to ad hoc. You don't have a lot of interaction with them. And if you're the kind of person that filters and says, wow, I desire something higher in terms of the amount of interaction, and I'm not getting it, you might be filtering or experiencing every interaction from the perspective of, this is just simply not enough. I'm not supported, simply because I have a distance manager who I do not get the kind of frequency with that I would like. So something to be very aware of, something to be very careful of, because you may be filtering and either consciously or subconsciously experiencing those interactions in a much lower potential way. Another example of social influencer when it comes to degree of interaction, let's take the other side of the coin, where someone is receiving more interaction than desired and they feel smothered. So it certainly could be a boss who's really up in your grill, but let's use a relationship example. Maybe you have someone who is in a relationship with someone who really values a high degree of communication, and as a result, every time they go to interact with that person, whether it's a romantic or a work relationship, they're getting twice or three times or four times the amount of actual interaction that they seek. So in that case, through that filter, through that influencer, where they feel like, wow, this I'm smothered, this is too much information, it's too much interaction. Every interaction is going to be tinged with the sense of, oh boy, I'm holding back, I'm hesitating to communicate, I regret communicating because information or degree of interaction is coming back at a level much higher than it expected or wanted or anticipated for one part of the relationship. So that's an example of a social influence or social filter that can have a huge impact on how we experience so many things in our lives. Again, remember these filters, it goes well beyond, hey, I'm getting too much interaction. It becomes something far broader, and it can drive a lot of behaviors, a lot of beliefs, and a lot of our emotions and feelings. So I'm going to wrap it up at that. We're going to try to keep these short and sweet moving forward. As always, your questions, your comments, totally welcome. You can find me at pointacoachingandconsulting.com. You can also reach me for one-on-one coaching or presentations at 724-331-9263. And again, I'm Coach Kieran Diorio. If you're a high-performing professional and you want all that family happiness to catch up with all your business success, do give me a call. Again, 724-331-9263, pointacoachingandconsulting.com. We'll catch you next time.